Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. Now this week we are going to take you to England, to an organic dairy farm over there near Swindon. So the Berkely dairy farm has been delivering doorstep deliveries of milk since World War I. Now the current farmers are, I suppose, a mother, father and a son, Edward. And when Edward came home, the farm was processing 30,000 litres of milk a week, which sounds like huge volume. It is huge volume. And since then they've converted to organic and they are processing 30,000 litres of milk a day. So an even bigger volume. But for more about how they managed to do that and what sort of business they're in now, we have Edward himself, and here we both are on the farm, and he's about to explain it to everyone how that came about. Hi Edward, how are you?
Hi, yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, you?
Good. Where are we?
We're at Berkely Farm Dairy, which is near Swindon, Wiltshire, in the UK.
And how big is the farm? How many cows do you have on it?
So we've got 140 organic Guernsey cows, of which, and we have about 40 followers, so young stock coming in.
And you guys are doing something different. You're selling milk directly, and you're on, it sounds like quite a big scale now, but how did that start?
My great-grandfather started that in 1908. He bought a few cows and started selling milk directly to people on the doorstep. So he'd bring it along and people would come out with their bottles and he'd fill them up. And that sort of progressed over time, and before long he had milk runs all over Swindon. So he was a bit of an entrepreneur and he really built up a bit of an empire of milk at that time. It then changed a little bit when they made him pasteurise it, and then when Dad came back in the 1980s they put in the first milk processing unit. Since then we specialise a bit more in wholesale, and more recently we've expanded a lot more.
Are the Guernsey cows, are they like a niche selling point?
Yeah, so that's how the whole thing started really, was the first cows that my great-grandfather bought were Guernsey cows. He bought them because he liked the milk. The niche with the Guernsey cows, you've got various different niches. You've got the colour, so it's a very golden colour, which gives it a massive difference to everything else. You've got the fat content, which is ours are about 4.8% fat, and they're about 3.7% protein, which is much higher than your standard black and white Friesians or Holsteins. And finally, you've got the A2 content, which is this is also to do with proteins and people that have got various dairy allergies. There's some evidence to show that the A1 protein can cause some dairy allergies, whereas Guernseys are roughly about 90% A2. Some people that have got Guernseys have actually bred out all the ones that are A1, so now they can market it as an A2 product.
And the A1's more associated with kind of the Holstein breed, which is more predominant now. When you pick up your litre or 2 litres of milk, you're usually getting Holstein milk.
That's right, yeah. It's a genetic mutation in Northern European breeds, so mostly Holsteins, Friesians, all those types of ones, which is why the Guernseys originate from, I think it's 2 breeds that were in the south of France that mix together, and then they end up with Guernseys. So for that reason, they're mainly A2.
And they're neighbours of the Jersey from the Jersey Channel Island, but you think they're better, obviously, the Guernseys.
Oh, they make better milk. It's better milk to drink, but I'd say probably commercially, Jerseys are probably better because it's a bigger breed and probably a lot more to choose from.
But you don't think you're ever going to switch though at this stage?
No, we'll never switch. No, we've got them now. Guernseys are a very docile breed. They're really nice to work with, whereas I think Jerseys can be a bit feisty.
And have you guys always been organic?
No, so we're conventional until 1998. Mum and Dad switched to organic then for mainly 2 reasons. The first reason being they wanted to. They'd always thought about switching, and that was a really good time economically to switch as well. And the second reason was that there was an opportunity to produce milk for this company, Abel & Cole, who are now one of our biggest customers, and they were looking for organic milk, so it made sense to switch to organic.
You're also a bit spoiled, I think, because your mother told me that that your father said, "Oh, well, will you just milk the cows for a couple of weeks?" And she ended up doing it for 15 years.
Yeah,
that's her story anyway.
Yeah.
So she sounds like a real herdswoman and part of the business too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, she still does all the young stock now. She does a lot of the herd management, a lot of the herd health. She uses alternative methods. We try and limit how much antibiotics we use. Very, very little use of antibiotics at drying off as well.
And homeopathy, she was talking about.
Yes,
using that.
she uses a lot of homeopathy. I tend not to get involved with the homeopathy. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble with her. So,
I think. Oh, that's your phone. It's probably the processing plant.
Yeah, it is.
And we are actually about to head there next. So yeah, lead on, Duff.
Right here. You go. That's it, my son.
In this way?
Just follow him.
So Edward, this is the processing facility. There is a lot of shiny metal around. So how much milk is coming in here every single day?
Okay, so we're processing 7 days a week now, and we're processing on average about 30,000 litres per day.
Whew, it's nice to get back outside. It was very noisy in there.
About 10 years ago, I'd say we were doing about 2,000 litres per day, so it's grown a lot in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
And is it all organic milk that's being processed?
No, so about 20,000 litres per day would be organic, and about 10,000 litres is non-organic.
And does that come from other farms? I'm guessing it's not just your farm anymore that supplies it.
No, that's right. So of that 30,000, only 2,000 litres would be from our own Guernsey cows. We keep that separate to all the other milks that come in, because we do a pure Guernsey products that are kept separate to everything else. We then got all local farms. So the furthest farm away is about 15 miles that we collect from. So we've got 2 big organic farms that we buy from, and we've got 2 conventional farms, of which one of them is a Jersey farm that we use that goes to do bag and box into London. So there's all sorts of different things we do.
It seems busy. There's a lot of staff around as well. How many staff have you got?
Yeah, so total in the business now we've got 45 staff, of which 41 would be in the plant or delivery drivers.
And we're next to a pasteuriser, a butter maker, but there's other rooms, and you're telling me there's kefir and yoghurt going on as well. So just the pasteuriser, I mean, that must be processing a lot of milk.
Yes, the pasteuriser, it does between 2,500 and 3,000 litres per hour. And that's running, 10 to 12 hours a day, every day.
And
well.
what's the investment like in this place?
Oh, we've spent probably about 1.5 million, I'd say, in the last 10 years.
It's a stone's throw from your farm, and it's £1.5 million pounds that you've put into this.
Yes, £1.5 million. Yeah, so and we're still paying it off. It's been a difficult last sort of 12 months, but things are going well now. But last year, with electric prices going up and milk prices, I don't know what happened in Europe, but milk prices in the UK almost doubled. Yeah. But we weren't able to get the same money from our sort of biggest customers back. So last year was difficult. But then this year, the milk prices have gone down really fast, and we're getting our own back on our customers by now dragging our feet. So it evens out in the end.
And what do you pay the farmers? Do you pay them per litre for the milk that they have?
Yeah. So we have 2 systems. We have the organic farmers and the conventional farmers. So the organic farmers get the average between Muller and Arla price, who are the biggest organic buyers, plus 2p bonus. So they're always getting a good price. The conventional farmers, they get there's a website called milkprices.com. So we pick the average of the best 5 prices on milkprices.com. So they're actually getting about 45p a litre at the moment, which is a pretty good price, I think.
Yeah, it is pretty good. Yeah. And then in terms of the yoghurt, the kefir, the milk, what's the best moneymaker for you out of those?
Do you know what? I think they're all about the same. So we've got the main departments we've got the kefir, we've got the plastic bottled milk, and we've got the glass bottled milk, and they all make roughly about the same amount of money each. So for that reason, so the kefir we're doing about 40,000 litres of kefir a week, so it's about 120,000 units. The plastic bottles would be about, the rest is between the glass. The glass bottles is about 20,000 litres a week, and the rest is in plastic. So
and organic, are people looking for organic?
Yeah, people are definitely looking for organic. We did some research on our doorstep delivery to see if people would, particularly last year when the prices were going up, to see if people wanted conventional, and they all said no, they preferred organic, and they were quite willing and happy to pay extra for it.
And then you can see glass bottles, plastic bottles. Is there some debate over which is more environmentally friendly? Do you have any plans around that?
Right, so all our doorstep delivery is done in glass. We've got about 3,200 customers for the doorstep delivery. I think glass is better for the environment as long as you're getting multiple reuses out of it. So we get 98% of our glass back. So however many uses that is, I guess you can do the maths. Also, we're only going maximum 15 miles with it in terms of distribution and delivery, and we're delivering with electric vehicles, which will soon be powered by solar. So that side of things will be really good. I think plastic is better than glass if you're transporting it large distances, because one of our biggest customers did what you call a life cycle analysis, because they're actually a company that actually cares about the environment, doesn't want to make it look like they care by getting something. So they looked at glass, they looked at the pouches, they looked at all sorts of different things. And glass was actually worse than single-use plastic because of the weight. So now we're doing a big project with them, which is reusable plastic bottles, which are much lighter, and they're made out of polypropylene, like baby bottles. And hopefully we'll get a lot of reuses out of those. So it will be the first place in the world doing reusable milk in reusable plastic bottles. We should hopefully start that in October this year, and it could open up all sorts of opportunities, I think.
And
so we'll see.
I imagine you're not milking the cows every day, but I imagine you didn't come out with a fully formed idea of going from, nearly 30,000 litres a week to 30,000 a day. That must have been a bit of a journey. Yeah,
it's been a journey. Like it started with the kefir. That was the first thing that kind of arrived on our doorstep. And interestingly, I was suffering from allergies and sort of gut problems at the time, so I was already aware of kefir, and I could see on these health websites that it was a big market and growing. And had it not been for that, when there was the brand owner called Natasha came to us and said, I'm looking for someone to turn this from a smaller operation we're doing now into a bigger one, had it not been for that, we might not have done it. But I said to Dad, we really need to do this. It's a big opportunity. And then it really grew from there.
It sounds like your dad's quite supportive, like, because usually in kind of maybe a farmer son, farmer child, sometimes the reins can be quite tightly held. Yeah,
to be honest, it's the opposite problem. I could do with some reins, to be honest. He lets me do too much, and then he likes to then say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. I'm like, great, that's 100 grand down the drain. So it's the same, because I ran the farm for 10 years when I first came home. And I remember the first day I came back, he pretty much just gave me the keys to the farm and said, see ya. And that was it. So I had to learn on the go. And then we swapped jobs about 10 years later, and it was the same again. It's like, there's the processing plant. And I was like, there's the farm. And then we have our own departments. So we get on well because we don't get involved in each other's departments. And that seems to work pretty well.
So final question, where next?
I think it's the reusable plastic bottles is a massive opportunity. I think we're doing it for this company that does they're like an online version of Ocado. So they're doing veg boxes and anything that's organic delivered to people's doorsteps, and they're nationwide. But we have an opportunity with coffee shops and all sorts of things like that in using reusable 1 and 2 litre plastic bottles and getting them back from them. And that it's good for them because they're not having to waste so much plastic. It's good for us because we can save about 15p on a bottle. If we're getting it back, then there's a cost saving to that. So I think it's a real opportunity.
I had one other thing, which is, what did you think would be the biggest challenge for a farmer listening to this to do something like this? Is it getting finance, or is it just education? No,
I think anyone can do it. I think the hardest thing is getting big enough so that you can compete. If anyone that's just starting out is going to have to get, they're not going to have the investment, so they're going to have to get sort of semi-automatic equipment, which means your then costs of production are higher, and then it's difficult to compete. So it's getting your foot in the door so you can get the slightly bigger equipment, whether it's going the whole hog and just saying, right, I'll get the big equipment straight away, and then going out to try and find the customers, because it's and finding a market to go into as well, and a niche. So it is difficult, but I think the doorstep delivery is a really, really good starting point for that, because most of the doorstep delivery available to people in the UK is from nationwide companies. There's about three different ones that do it, and if you're local, then you have a huge advantage over them because you don't have the distribution costs and various other things, and you can actually compete with them for that reason on price. So a good place for a farmer starting out is to buy, a small bottle washer, glass bottling line, all that stuff, a small pasteurizer, and start there, and then build it up with the volume as it comes, expand into maybe a slightly bigger delivery area, and take it from there.
So there you have it. A bit of a jump, I guess, from 30,000 litres a week to 30,000 litres a day. Interesting, I think, to hear about his perspective on organic and how that's added value to the business as well. But for more on that, you can visit their website. You can look it up. But for more on organics, do please visit the Irish Organic Association website, the people who brought you this lovely podcast. And that is www.irishorganicassociation.ie. But from me, Hannah Quinn-Mulligan, and everyone here, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.